So good evening everyone, and as I was just telling Ajay ji, I must start by congratulating all of you that such a large audience has turned out on a weekday evening to listen to not the most exciting thing in the world. So I think that Manthan particularly and all of you, the engaged citizens of Hyderabad, deserve congratulations that such a forum has been created and continues to thrive after all these years. And so this is exactly what I was telling Ajay ji, and I think that if nothing else, that is a sign of a good and strong democracy. That we'll come to whether you can make politicians listen to you or not. I have some strong opinions on this. But I think that having an engaged citizenry who is constantly thinking about these issues is the first step in that direction. And because of that, I think that Manthan and this forum definitely deserves congratulations. Ajay ji said something about politicians. And I think politician bashing is also one of the favorite pastimes of this country. And often when we watch the news at 9 p.m. and there is a lot of hyperventilation going on, and when in the mornings we read the newspapers and then we are talking to our family and friends over dinner or in the morning walk. So I think after some discussion on this is wrong and that is wrong, we all come to this one conclusion within 5-7 minutes. It's a universal conclusion in all parts of the country ki morning walks, and that is desh ka kuch nahi ho sakta. And all of us come to that conclusion very soon. But I think we need to think about this, कि हमें ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि देश का कुछ नहीं हो सकता. So if you see, हमारी life के, as again going back to what Ajay ji said, what are the most important things about our life that we care about the most? Education for our children, that they should go to good schools. We want that then they should get admission in colleges of their choice. After having higher education, we want that they should get jobs that pay them well, jobs that they enjoy. We want that if we step out of our homes, we feel safe and secure. We want that if ourselves in old age, or if our parents are old, or any of our member of our family falls sick, I should be able to afford adequate health care for them. These are in many ways some of the most important things for us in our lives. And decisions about all of these things are actually made by our politicians. And I don't want to make a statement about all politicians, there are always exceptions. But if you were to see in our country who goes into politics, it is often the worst kind of people from our country and our society who enter politics. So we have left the most important decisions of our lives in the hands of the worst kind of people. And so the consequence is bound to be what we are seeing today. And the conclusion is also bound to be the same, कि जी देश का कुछ नहीं हो सकता. And that is in fact the reason why some of us decided that some change needs to happen. And first when India Against Corruption was formed, then when it became Aam Aadmi Party. And this was not something that most of us who are in Aam Aadmi Party today, we really, if you had asked us 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that you are going to become politicians, we would probably have laughed. Because well-educated people, I often say, decent people think that they should maintain a decent distance from politics. Because politics to gandi cheez hoti hai, there is a lot of muck that happens. And all elders of the family would advise any young person who is interested in politics कि भाई उससे दूर रहो, अच्छी नौकरी करो. And for many of us also, we used to think the same. In fact, till a few years back, if anyone used to call me a politician, I used to cringe. Because I'm like, politician तो वो होते हैं जो सफ़ेद कुर्ता पजामा पहनते हैं और मशीन गन वाले बॉडीगार्ड्स के साथ घूमते हैं. At least that's the conception of a politician you have in North India. Now, but the problem is that till some people decide to engage in this politics, till some people decide to take this plunge, however dirty it is, however messy it is, till then I personally believe that change is not possible, because finally it is politicians who are making those decisions. And when 5 years ago Aam Aadmi Party came to power, one of our high priority areas was the public education system, the government education system. And that is something that across the country has been in shambles. If you were to look at government schools, when do government schools make it to the news? Government schools never make it to the news for good reasons. In fact, personally, my own analysis is that the most frequent headline because of which government schools make it to the news is when children fall sick after eating midday meals and are hospitalized. Or if there's some school जहाँ पे सारे बच्चे fail हो गए, or if there's some school where children are being made to clean the school or wash the dishes or make their midday meal themselves, or if there's a school where there's no tables, no chairs, or once a year when Pratham releases the Asar report that 50% of children in this country don't know how to read and write. But after 1 or 2 days of those headlines, everyone conveniently forgets about 50-60% of the children who are studying in government schools. And even in Delhi, the situation was exactly the same. I remember the first time when I went into a government school after the Aam Aadmi Party government was formed. And remember, this was the national capital. This is not some underdeveloped part of the country that I'm going into Bastar or Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand, which are considered to be the less developed parts of the country. I remember when I first walked into that school, from the gate of the school you could smell the toilet. And that toilet, which you could smell 50 meters away, because there was a shortage of infrastructure, outside that toilet 50 children were sitting in the corridor and a class was going on there. There were girls in that school who told me कि मैम हम तो कभी स्कूल में टॉयलेट जाते ही नहीं है, टॉयलेट इतना गंदा होता है that we wait till we reach back our homes so that we can even use the toilet. Now, if a government cannot even ensure that there are clean toilets for students to use, if there's drinking water available, if there's a light in a classroom and a fan in a classroom, because invariably when you used to go into classrooms, lights were broken, fans were broken, windows were broken. Often the children were sitting on the floor because there were no desks. I think in the first few months itself of the government, Mr. Sisodia was the education minister and myself, we had gone to this one school near the Haryana and Delhi border. Now in government schools or any government institutions, there's paperwork for everything. So even if some furniture is broken, to throw it away there's a lot of paperwork. And so that school actually had 4 classrooms full of old furniture because the paperwork for throwing it away hadn't been completed. In a 5th classroom, many of the teachers in the school had parked their motorcycles. And so those 5 classrooms, because they were occupied with all of this, all 5 classrooms were going on simultaneously in the school hall. So you can imagine how much a child is understanding if there are 5 teachers talking in parallel. And the children were sitting on the floor on daris, and next to the gate was a huge pile of daris from which children must have been picking them up and putting them for sitting on. And Mr. Sisodia picked up this pile of daris, and from that 1,000 mosquitoes flew out. And this is a room where a few hundred children are studying. And this was not one exceptional school, all schools were like this. And so that is when we realized that abhi talking about changes in curriculum, about education reform, about pedagogy, etc. is still a very long way off. Right now we needed to resolve some of the basic questions. So in the first few years when we started fixing the government school system, our focus was really on the fact that we need to upgrade the infrastructure and make sure that schools were clean. In terms of expansion of infrastructure, when the Aam Aadmi Party government was formed, the total infrastructure size was there were 17,000 classrooms in all Delhi government schools put together. So from independence to 2015, 17,000 classrooms had been built. Within the first 3 years of the government, the Aam Aadmi Party government built 8,000 new classrooms, and currently 12,000 more are under the process of construction. So by the time the 5-year tenure of this government gets over, the total classroom infrastructure would have expanded from 17,000 classrooms to 36,000 classrooms. But it wasn't just a question of expanding the infrastructure. One of the things that we felt is that there needed to be high quality infrastructure, because when a classroom looks like this, which is what classrooms used to look like, this is probably one of the better classrooms because only one window is broken, fan is not broken, light is not broken, there are desks also in the class. You see, when a student enters a school and there's a ramshackle and broken down school, the message to that child is very clear. And that message is that you are a second class citizen and you don't matter in this world. And you are not going to make it. वो जो बच्चे चमकते हुए स्कूलों में पढ़ते हैं ना, वो दुनिया में कहीं पहुंचने वाले हैं, तुम नहीं पहुंचने वाले. And so there was a need that not only does classroom infrastructure need to be expanded, it needs to be high quality also. These are what our toilets used to look like. This is a corridor. And these are some of the better pictures, because now when we asked people to pull out photographs of older times, they actually gave us better pictures than what the schools used to look like. And now after 5 years, with the expanded infrastructure, with the refurbished classrooms, this is what our classrooms look like now. This is a library from one of our government schools. And this is my favorite photo. This is what the toilets look like now. And we had one young girl who used to work in an educational NGO. She was a social worker in one of our school management committees. So one of the things she had said to me was very insightful, again about the toilets. She said कि मैम जब हम शुरू में स्कूल जाते थे तो टॉयलेट्स ऐसे लगते थे जैसे निज़ामुद्दीन रेलवे स्टेशन के टॉयलेट्स हैं. एंड शी सेज अब ऐसे लगते हैं जैसे मेरे घर के अपने टॉयलेट हैं, इतने साफ हो गए हैं. एंड आई समटाइम्स यूज्ड टू जोक विद मिस्टर सिसोदिया इन द फर्स्ट ईयर, यू नो मुझे कई बार लगता है कि मैं एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट में नहीं काम करती, मैं सैनिटेशन डिपार्टमेंट में काम करती हूँ. क्योंकि हम सारा टाइम यही बात करते रहते हैं कि अगर एक स्कूल में इतने बच्चे हैं तो टॉयलेट कितनी बार साफ़ होगा, और अगर इतने बच्चे हैं तो कितने सैनिटेशन वर्कर्स चाहिए, और अगर सफाई नहीं हुई तो कितनी पेनल्टी लगेगी सैनिटेशन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पे, और कितनी बॉटल हार्पिक की लगेंगी और कितनी बॉटल फिनाइल की लगेंगी. बट इट्स अ ग्रेट मैटर ऑफ प्राइड, पर्सनल प्राइड फॉर मी, दैट नाउ व्हेन यू गो इनटू अ दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट स्कूल, the only smell coming out of the toilet is of phenyl and nothing else. The toilets are cleaned so regularly. And I was speaking earlier at a college in Hyderabad this morning. I was telling them that I'm an alumnus of St. Stephen's College. And a few months ago, I had gone there to give a talk. So after the talk, I went to use the washroom. When I came out, I told one of my colleagues कि हमारे दिल्ली के सरकारी स्कूलों के टॉयलेट्स इनसे ज़्यादा अच्छे हैं. So Delhi government schools now have better and cleaner toilets than St. Stephen's College also. Not just that, even in terms of sports facilities, that we wanted that all children should have access to high quality sports facilities. So we have divided schools into clusters and ensured that every cluster we are building one high quality sports infrastructure, be it swimming pools, be it astroturf, hockey grounds, be it synthetic tracks, so that children actually have access to high quality sports infrastructure. Because otherwise आप देखिए sports एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो मानी जाती है, like something like swimming. It is considered something that only the elite have access to, because access to swimming pools is expensive, swimming coaches are expensive, and that's true for every sport. We actually opened, when our first AstroTurf hockey ground was opened in one of our government schools, one very senior sports journalist said something very interesting to me. He said that one of the reasons why India has stopped doing well internationally in hockey is because the international hockey game happens on AstroTurf. Whereas in India, most stadiums actually have grass fields. And in AstroTurf, the speed of the game is much faster. So जब Indian players international level पे खेलने जाते हैं, जिन्होंने AstroTurf पे कभी खेला नहीं है, they are not able to cope with the speed of the game. So he said, इसलिए आप लोगों को पता नहीं है आपने हॉकी के लिए कितनी बड़ी चीज़ की है, आप मुझसे लिखवा लो कि 10 साल बाद आपके इस गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से इंटरनेशनल लेवल के हॉकी प्लेयर्स निकलेंगे बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्सेस टू दिस infrastructure. So once I tweeted a picture of one of our schools, which is in this area called Lajpat Nagar in Delhi. So you know there are always a lot of bhakts on social media. And so one of them in response to my tweet said that this is a fake picture, this is not a school in Delhi, this is a school in Singapore. And so one of our volunteers of our social media team said कि चलो मैं बताता हूँ. So he went to Lajpat Nagar and he took a video of the Lajpat Nagar Central Market and all its noise and its muck and its dirt and everything, and then panned into the school gate, and in a single shot without anyone saying कि भाई edit कर दिया है तुमने, he went into where the mural is in this school. And so then he tweeted that video and said कि चलो अब हमारे opponents भी कम से कम ये तो मानते हैं कि हमारे schools world class हैं और सिंगापुर जैसे schools लगते हैं. After the basic work on infrastructure was done, we next moved to sorting out some more basics. Basically, one of the problems, not just of government schools, but of government systems across the board, is a lack of accountability. Anyone who, like me, has an account in State Bank of India knows the fact कि जब भी आप किसी government office या government bank में जाते हो, तो वहाँ पे जो टेबल के दूसरी तरफ बैठा होता है, it's almost as if they are doing you a favor by doing a job which is being paid for by taxpayers' money often. And I'm not blaming any specific individuals. But the fact is that if there is a culture of a lack of accountability, where if I'm a government school teacher, whether I go to school or I don't go to school, whether I teach or I don't teach, whether I teach poorly or I teach well, I still get my salary on the first of every month. And there is no one asking any questions. There is also the problem of a lot of centralization in our government structures. So even our field officers, for example, a district level field officer in education, has about 100 schools that come under them. Now, even if you assume that your district level officer is committed, is honest, goes to the field regularly, and often none of these three are true, but even if you assume the best, they would be only able to go to each school once in 3 months. They cannot humanly go more often than that. Uske alawa, like all governments, there's a lot of file work that they have to deal with. So, अगर एक स्कूल में दरियों में से इतने ज़्यादा मच्छर निकल रहे हैं, उसके लिए ये भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है कि हमारे सिस्टम्स ही ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे उन स्कूलों से कोई पूछ नहीं रहा है कि भाई स्कूल साफ है कि नहीं है. इफ देयर इज समवन हु वाज रेगुलरली कमिंग इनटू दैट स्कूल, then maybe that school would not have been in that situation. So to increase the accountability, we started thinking that who is the group that cares the most कि school अच्छा चले. And we felt that it's finally the parents of the children who are studying in the school who have the greatest connect to that school, who have the greatest stakes in that school. And so we started involving the parents actively in the governance of the school. Those of you who are familiar with the Right to Education Act, there's something called a school management committee in every school. But like many things that exist on paper in our country, it's not necessary just because it's there in the law, it's actually implemented properly on the ground. So was the case with school management committees, that they existed on paper, but in reality, of course, parents were not even allowed inside schools. There is also a very strong class bias that existed. I mean, even when we were talking about how dirty the schools used to be, the fact is that there was a class bias inherent in that. Because who is sending their children to government schools as on today? Some of the poorest sections are sending their children to government schools. So no one would say it out loud, but जब schools गंदे होते थे ना, the unstated thing was कि भाई ये तो बच्चे खुद ही इतने गंदे हैं, ये तो ऐसे घरों से आते हैं, इनकी तो localities भी ऐसी हैं, इनको इतने साफ स्कूल की क्या ज़रूरत है? Even when parents would come into school, let alone participate in the governance of the school, parents would not be allowed to enter the school by the security guard at the gate. We have started parent-teacher meetings in our schools, and once we met a mother whose child was on a wheelchair. She was a specially abled child, and that mother told me कि मैं अपनी बेटी को 3 साल से रोज स्कूल छोड़ने आ रही हूँ, लेकिन आज पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग में मैं पहली बार स्कूल के गेट के अंदर घुसी हूँ. And so parents were earlier not even let inside the school. The other unstated class bias used to be, and this is a lot of, so when we said we'll involve the parents in the administration and in the governance, so there was a strong reaction from a lot of different levels of the bureaucracy. And the sort of things we'd hear is कि भाई ये तो अनपढ़ हैं, ये तो पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं, ये स्कूल में कैसे हेल्प करेंगे? And you would often hear कि भाई पेरेंट्स इंटरेस्टेड नहीं होते आपके पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग में या एसएमसी में पार्टिसिपेट करने में, वो तो अपने बच्चों को सिर्फ स्कूल इसलिए भेजते हैं क्योंकि यहाँ पे मिड डे मील में फ्री का खाना मिलता है, या वो तो सिर्फ उसी दिन स्कूल आते हैं जिस दिन वजीफ़ा बंटता है, वो सिर्फ पैसे लेने में, कैश लेने में इंटरेस्टेड होते हैं, वो आपके इन सब एक्टिविटीज़ में इंटरेस्टेड नहीं होंगे. But our experience in the past 5 years has just been the reverse. When we started activating the SMCs, you see this line of parents, they have all come to participate and take part in SMC elections that we organized. Not only did parents come forward to be SMC members, When we held elections for SMCs, a large number of parents even turned out to vote in those elections. We have had regular participation of parents and especially mothers who often may not have otherwise stepped out of their homes. This is a photograph of an SMC member who came to an SMC meeting with her 3-month-old child because she did not want to miss an important school meeting of her older child's school. So because these SMC members cared, they started finding a lot of ground level solutions which we, even as a concerned government, probably could not have solved. So see, as a government, what could we do? We could increase the budget. So we increased the budgetary allocation of education to 25%, which is higher than any state government. We expanded infrastructure, we made sure that teachers got better training, etc. But at the ground level, how do you control things in 1,000 decentralized locations? And this is really where the SMC members helped. So for example, one problem that we would often face, especially in the outskirts, was that a lot of our teachers used to come in from UP and from Haryana. So what used to happen was that the schools where you had teachers come in from UP, Haryana, they used to come by train. So schools would not run by the timings set by the government administration. Schools would run by train timings. So जब मेरठ से ट्रेन आती थी तो टीचर आते थे, जब मेरठ को ट्रेन वापस जाती थी तो टीचर वापस चले जाते थे. And so in one school in East Delhi near the Anand Vihar railway station, and obviously if the teachers go away, students are not going to stay in the school. And so one school, there was this major problem because from Anand Vihar railway station, the evening train to Meerut used to leave at 5 o'clock. But the school timing for the second shift school was from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So to catch the 5 o'clock train, teachers used to leave the school somewhere between 4 and quarter past 4. So by 4:30, पूरा school खाली होता था. So what did the SMC do? They found an extremely creative but an extremely unsophisticated solution. वो एक बड़ा सा ताला खरीद के लेके आए. And what they did was that, you know, every school has this big iron gate. Every afternoon around 3 o'clock, these SMC members would come. They would latch that gate from the inside and put that lock. Okay. And then there's a security guard's office just inside that gate. Then they would just sit there for 3 hours. They would do nothing else. So बस बैठ जाते थे. और चाबी किसी और के पास तो होती नहीं थी, ना प्रिंसिपल के पास होती थी, ना सिक्योरिटी गार्ड के पास होती थी, ना एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के पास होती थी. सिर्फ उन SMC members के पास चाबी होती थी. So there was a lot of dispute that happened between the SMC, between the teachers, but the SMC members held their ground and they sat in that room, I think security guards room, for a month or a month and a half. And finally the teachers gave up and started taking the 7 o'clock train to Meerut instead of the 5 o'clock train to Meerut. Now, as a government, we could never have implemented this. Someone would have taken us to NHRC or something saying there's a human rights violation to lock the teachers inside the school. But this was something that really had the impact of preventing the teachers from actually leaving early. There was one teachers training that we were attending, and some of the teachers were complaining against the SMC members. They're like, इनके पास तो कोई काम ही नहीं है और ये तो रोज-रोज स्कूल आते रहते हैं, रोज-रोज स्कूल का इंस्पेक्शन करते रहते हैं. And she said, हमारे स्कूल में तो जब भी SMC मेंबर आते हैं तो हमारी ना प्रिंसिपल हमारे टीचर्स के व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में एक मैसेज भेज देती हैं कि क्लास के अंदर चले जाओ, SMC मेंबर्स इंस्पेक्शन के लिए आए हैं. So that teacher was complaining. Little did she know that we were extremely happy. That is exactly what the SMC members were supposed to be doing. We also created something. We created a whole network of WhatsApp groups of these SMC members. So from those WhatsApp groups, we would often get ground level feedback. Okay, what was actually happening on the ground, something you often never get from the administration or the bureaucracy. So, एक बारी we had asked these SMC members, we were running some remedial classes for class 10 and class 12 students in the winter holidays. So we asked our SMC members कि आप ज़रा ना स्कूल में राउंड लगा के आना to see whether classes are going on properly. So one SMC member went into a school and one teacher had signed attendance on 5th of January for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Obviously with no intention of coming for those 4 days. And this was common practice. I mean, this is nothing unusual. So our SMC member took a photo of that and he put it in one of our WhatsApp groups. वो 10-15 मिनट में मेरे पास पहुंच गया. I called up one of our senior officers who called up the district level officer, and within about 30-35 minutes of that SMC member having taken a photograph, there was one senior officer in that school taking action on that attendance register. So that one incident, उसने पूरे सिस्टम में एक सनसनी मचा दी. People said कि भाई ये सारे SMC members ना मनीष सिसोदिया को जानते हैं. So that's why, so when the school administration and the entire education administration realized that the government was willing to listen to the grievances of these SMC members, that if you did not actually resolve those grievances at the school level or the zone level or the district level, they would be addressed in the minister's office. And so far more attention began to be paid to a lot of the issues the SMC members were bringing up. Not just SMCs, we also got parents involved through parent-teacher meetings. Again, we were told by our administration कि जी ये आपके ख्याली पुलाव हैं, कोई नहीं आने वाला parent-teacher meeting पे, कि none of these parents ever come, हम तो बुलाते रहते हैं. Except that often parents would be called on for parent-teacher meetings in the middle of the week, because that was the most convenient for the schools. But these are all working parents. So if both parents are working and if you keep a parent-teacher meeting on Tuesday morning, no one is going to be able to come. So we said that we were going to have the parent-teacher meeting on a Sunday, and schools would be opened on Sundays for this parent-teacher meeting. And so we really went all out when this parent-teacher meeting was to happen. We put out ads in the newspaper, we put out ads on FM radio. Anyone who's been to Delhi, during parent-teacher meeting time, there are ads running on FM radio for a week or 2 weeks announcing that all government schools are going to have a parent-teacher meeting. We made children give homemade, handmade invitations to their parents. So the first parent-teacher meeting was to happen in July of 2016. As luck would have it, जिस दिन पहली parent-teacher meeting थी, जुलाई का मौसम था, बहुत तेज़ बारिश हो रही थी. So we were like, now कोई नहीं आएगा, and we will have egg on our face for organizing this. But despite the fact that there was such heavy rainfall, you can see from those cues as well that 80-90% of parents turned up. They stood in lines outside the schools to meet the teachers of their children. And not just then, up till now, we have 2 parent-teacher meetings every semester. And in every parent-teacher meeting, we have at least 80% attendance of parents who come to meet the teachers of their children. And this has had a remarkable impact even on participation of parents in their children's education. One girl had shared her experience with us. She said कि पहले, we would often go into schools just to ask children. So Mr. Sisodia once said कि देखो parent-teacher meeting के बाद तो डांट पड़ती होगी, मैं उसे बंद कर दूँ क्या? So the children said कि नहीं sir, बिल्कुल नहीं बंद करो. One girl stood up and said, this was in one of the rural outskirts of Delhi. She said कि जब मैं पहले स्कूल से घर वापस जाती थी तो मैं मम्मी के साथ घर का काम करवाती थी, खाना बनवाना, घर की साफ़ सफाई. She said जब से पेरेंट टीचर मीटिंग शुरू हुई और जब से मैम ने मेरी मम्मी को ये बताया कि मैं पढ़ाई में अच्छी हूँ, अब मैं जब घर जाती हूँ तो मेरी मम्मी कहती हैं बेटा घर का काम मैं कर लूँगी, तुम अपनी पढ़ाई कर लो. And so here we can see how the participation of parents in the child's education began to happen. And parents, lots of parents even found out for the first time कि जी मेरा बेटा तो स्कूल के लिए निकलता था, मुझे नहीं पता था कि वो स्कूल पहुंचता नहीं है. And so this parents' participation through SMCs, through PTMs also began to change the chemistry at the ground level. After that, our focus, and this I believe is probably one of the most important things, was on actually improving classroom practices, on how do you provide training to teachers to teach in a more interesting manner. Because our governments have been spending hundreds of crore rupees on teachers training since the early 90s, through the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, through the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, and all these policies keep getting named and renamed every 5-10 years. But the actual classroom does not change. The classroom is as boring as always. I once went into a class which was a 7th standard geography class, and There were 5-6 rows of children. So जब हम घुसे तो as it is जब कोई मंत्री के ऑफिस से आता है तो काफ़ी हड़बड़ी मच जाती है. So we went into the classroom. Only 2 rows of children actually even had books on their tables. बाकी कोई पीछे बैठा हुआ है, कोई सो रहा है, किसी का सिर नीचे है. And as we went into the classroom, लोगों को लगा कि something serious has happened, so they start pulling out their books. Except किसी ने हिंदी की निकाल ली, किसी ने मैथ्स की निकाल ली. One of the kids even had like the moral science book open in front of him because they felt कि भाई कोई inspection के लिए आया तो किताब सामने होनी चाहिए. So obviously a class, it's not as if the teacher did not know this. The teacher is also looking at the same classroom. In fact, teachers also, we once had a teacher training session where we asked the teachers to do a role play. कि आप पढ़ाते कैसे हो classroom में? So the teachers did a role play. They said कि हमारा teaching method है TPM. So what is this TPM? This TPM stands for तू पढ़ method. What is that? किताब खोलो. अच्छा बेटा पहला पेज तू पढ़. Then he sits down. अच्छा दूसरा पेज तू पढ़. And एक एक करके the children read out the lesson. Reading finished, session closed. And that is how teaching often happens in the classroom. And that is the reason why no learning is happening in our schools. And so teacher training was something that we invested in heavily. We started sending our teachers to some of the best institutions across the country and across the world. All our principals in Delhi government schools have been to a specially designed program at IIM Ahmedabad on school leadership. This is a picture of our school teachers at the National Institute of Education in Singapore. Our principals and teachers have visited the education system of Finland. They have been to Cambridge University, they have been to Harvard University. They have traveled across the country, including to Rishi Valley School in Chittoor district in Andhra Pradesh to see what are the kind of education experiments that happened. From within this system itself, we found a lot of creative teachers and we made them mentor teachers, with each mentor teacher being given the responsibility for 5 schools, where they would go sit in the classroom, give feedback to teachers. This is a photo of our principals at IIM Ahmedabad. Once when a batch of principals came back from IIM Ahmedabad, so IIM Ahmedabad, that's because we were sending around 1,000-1,500 principals and vice principals. They had actually specially designed the program for our principals. And so I asked, we were asking with them in some of the sessions, कि आपको क्या अच्छा लगा? So I thought they will say कि भाई course बहुत अच्छा design था और case study method IIM का बहुत famous होता है. But one of the principals had a very interesting thing to say. He said, मैडम मुझे 2 चीज़ें अच्छी लगीं. तो मैंने पूछा क्या? कहते एक तो वहाँ पे ना सारे टीचर क्लास लेने के लिए टाइम पे आते थे, नंबर 1. And number 2, the IIM director had also taken a session for them. His second insight was, कहते मैम के वहाँ पे ना सारे प्रोफेसर, वहाँ के डायरेक्टर भी हमें पढ़ाने आए, सब लोग अपनी क्लास की बहुत तैयारी करके आते थे. And you see, the reason this is interesting is because हमें कई बार लोगों ने कहा कि भाई ऐसा क्या था कि तुम्हें कैम्ब्रिज भेजना पड़ा, ऐसा क्या था कि तुमने हार्वर्ड भेजा. Delhi Indian education is very different from American education. But for the first time, these teachers and principals got exposure to a very different ethos of an educational institution, of what it really meant to be a world-class education system, and the kind of ethos that was required to actually run that kind of institution. We brought in a lot of innovative teaching methods, as you can see from one of those photographs. We have recently introduced something called the happiness curriculum in our schools. The idea being that it's not just enough to learn Hindi, English, maths and science. Socio-emotional growth of children is at one level probably far more important than just learning Hindi, English, science and maths. We have even started something called the entrepreneurship mindset curriculum for all students from class 9 to class 12. This is not about skills on how to become an entrepreneur as much as a mindset of what it takes to be a risk-taking personality, to set up your own businesses. And this entrepreneurship mindset curriculum, amongst various other innovations, also involves each child getting 1,000 rupees seed money that they can spend on creating a business for themselves over a couple of months. So any money that they make additionally they get to keep, and that seed money gets returned to the government, to their school. And children came up with very interesting things. So one group of girls in the summers, they pooled in all their money and they bought lots of mangoes and ran a mango shake stall in their school in the lunch break. There was one boy who spent that 1,000 rupees buying comic books from Old Delhi, which he then over the summer vacation lent out to a lot of his friends with a certain fee per comic book and increased the amount of money that he was making. And so this is, a lot of these things have set the children thinking in a different direction. We've also had quite a lot of success in terms of our government school results. In our class 12 board exam results, government schools have now been getting better results than the private schools for the last 3 years. And Delhi government is the only state government where government schools actually take the CBSE exam. In most other states, they take the state board exam, which is often very easy to manipulate, especially in the year before the elections. And we are the only state government where all our schools take the CBSE exam. Not only are we doing better than private schools in Delhi, because CBSE exams are taken by private schools across the country, Delhi government schools have actually, our average performance has been better than the national average of CBSE across the country. And now for the past 3 years, more than 350 students in each year have cleared the IIT JEE exams and gone to some of the premier education institutions across the country. And it's very interesting, just this year, 1 month ago, there was this one case that got highlighted even in the media, that one young boy named Vijay, whose father runs a tailor's shop which is about 3 feet by 5 feet in size, from one of our Delhi government schools, got the opportunity to take coaching classes based on one of our schemes, is now going to be a classmate of Pulkit Kejriwal in IIT Delhi, who is the son of the Chief Minister. So what are our key takeaways from all this that I've said? I think one of our key takeaways is that change is possible. Because 5 years ago, if I had said that government schools would be doing better than private schools, no one would have thought it's possible. Government schools were like that ICU patient on that ventilator जो आपको पता था कि भाई अभी कुछ दिन में मरने ही वाला है. And we all used to think that a time is going to come when everyone is going to be studying in private schools. And this was the belief not just in Delhi but probably all over the country, where government schools are closing down at a very steady speed. And every few weeks, every few months you hear कि भाई इस स्टेट में 200 स्कूल बंद हो गए, स्कूल में इस स्टेट में 500 स्कूल बंद हो गए, इस स्टेट में 2000 स्कूल बंद हो गए. Whereas in Delhi, all our schools, जब हम शुरू में आए थे ना, our government was formed in February, so this was just the time of the admission cycle. In the first year or so, we used to get a lot of sifarish for admission in private schools. And we were very clear, we never used to intervene in the admission process over there. But in the last 2 years, we have actually started getting sifarish for admission in government schools. That people tell us कि जी ये वाला school बहुत अच्छा है, हमें यहाँ पे admission करवा दीजिए. So our first takeaway is that change is possible. Our second takeaway is that policy making is not rocket science. Many of the things that I have shared that we have done in the past 5 years did not require fancy degrees in public policy from American Ivy League universities. Most of the solutions were very common sense solutions that just required good implementation on the ground. And I personally believe that these solutions could have been implemented by any government if they had wanted to do it. And therefore, I'll come to the crux of the problem, really coming back to what Ajay ji began at the beginning with. That actually, politics is at the center of policy making. That to have the right kind of policies to improve education, to improve healthcare, to improve employment, to improve safety and security, it is the politics of this country that has to change. I myself spent many years working in social movements, working in the non-profit sector. But if I had spent 5 years working in a non-profit, I could probably have had an impact on maybe 5,000 children, 10,000 children. But because I was working with a political party, as a politician in the ruling party, In 5 years, we were able to have an impact on the lives of more than 16 lakh children. And that is where, from the government, from our democracy, from politics, is where change is going to come from. And many of us, as I said, believe the fact that bhai, decent people should maintain a decent distance from politics. But till people like us are ready to engage in politics, both by participating in it, और even by creating pressure on politics and politicians. देखिए हमारे स्कूल क्यों नहीं ठीक चलते हैं, हमारे हॉस्पिटल्स क्यों नहीं ठीक चलते हैं? Why is it that our politicians are corrupt or not interested? It's not because politicians are fools. The greatest incentive in the mind of any politician is कि भाई हमें अगला इलेक्शन भी जीतना है. So when they get elected from day one, they are doing what they think is going to make them win next time. राइट नाउ दे थिंक कि भाई इलेक्शन में पैसा बांटने से, साड़ी बांटने से, टीवी बांटने से, दारू बांटने से हम इलेक्शन जीत जाते हैं. सो इसलिए फ्रॉम डे वन दे आर बिजी कलेक्टिंग मनी फॉर द नेक्स्ट इलेक्शन. सो दे आर नॉट जस्ट इग्नोरिंग और दे डोंट नो व्हाट्स गोइंग ऑन. दे हैव अ वेरी क्लियर प्लान कि भाई फॉर नेक्स्ट री इलेक्शन आई नीड मनी, एंड सो इन दिस 5 years of the government I have to make that money to fight and win the next election. So what do we need to do? We as citizens have to create enough pressure on politicians. The day every politician comes to know कि भाई अगर मैंने अपने एरिया का सरकारी स्कूल नहीं ठीक किया, मैंने अपने एरिया का सरकारी अस्पताल नहीं ठीक किया, मैं जितना भी पैसा बांटूं, मैं जितना भी टीवी बांटूं, मैं जितना भी साड़ी बांटूं, मैं इलेक्शन जीतने वाला नहीं हूं. That is the day that not just Aam Aadmi Party, not just in Delhi, every politician of every political party will start improving government schools. And so the onus is not just on politicians, because all of us spend criticizing politicians is one of the favorite pastimes of our country. You sit in a train, this is what people are doing. In drawing rooms, this is what people are doing. In morning walks, this is what people are doing. But the onus is not just on the politicians. The onus is on all citizens of this country, because it is the citizens who are electing the representatives. And a democracy is just like the marketplace. Like in the market, whatever the consumers want, the companies will produce. Similarly, in a democracy, whatever it is that citizens will want, and want loudly enough and with adequate pressure, that is exactly what the politicians will do. So if we want to see a change in our country, if we want government schools to improve, if we want government hospitals to improve, all of us will have to engage with politics and make sure that our politicians deliver it. Thank you.
Open this up to the audience.
Yeah.
Would you like to give us a glimpse of what you have done in other sectors of the government? Since we don't have a direct exposure to what happens in Delhi,
Yeah.
you want to give a very brief overview.
So, I mean, each of these sectors could take quite a bit of time. What I could also do is, I have another presentation on the work that we have done on all of the sectors. I could leave that and you could share that maybe by some emailing list. But I think 2-3 areas of work I'd just like to discuss quickly. One of our major areas of work apart from education has been in healthcare, where Mohalla clinics, which is ground level primary healthcare, where OPD costs have been reduced by the margin of 1:10. OPD costs in these Mohalla clinics is 10% of what the cost of every OPD used to be in primary health centers and in hospitals. With the creation of these Mohalla clinics and a 3-tiered structure of Mohalla clinics, polyclinics and hospitals, not only have we provided primary health care, but also actually reduced the load that used to exist on hospitals. One of the reasons for overcrowding of hospitals was that anyone जिसको चोट लग गई वो भी हॉस्पिटल जा रहा है, जिसको वायरल फीवर है वो भी हॉस्पिटल जा रहा है, जिसको कीमोथेरेपी करानी है वो भी हॉस्पिटल जा रहा है. So by creating this primary and secondary level of healthcare system, we have actually managed to provide ground level access to healthcare as well as reduce the load on hospitals that used to exist earlier. And if you go into a Mohalla clinic, it's not, I once went into a Mohalla clinic and I met this one gentleman who was a retired diplomat. He used to earlier live in the same apartment complex as my sister, so I recognized him. And so I asked him कि uncle आप क्यों आए हो यहाँ पे? You can afford any private doctor or private clinic. What are you doing in a Mohalla clinic? So he said, बेटा मुझे ना शुगर की भी प्रॉब्लम है और बीपी की भी प्रॉब्लम है, और मैं किसी और डॉक्टर के पास जाऊंगा तो मैं शुगर और बीपी टेस्ट कराने में 300 रुपये मेरे लग जाते हैं, मोहल्ला क्लिनिक में मैं आके रोज़ फ्री में चेक करा लेता हूँ. And so this primary health care is not just for the poor, it's for every citizen. And tests which are expensive, even things like ultrasounds, ECGs, etc., which may cost 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees, are all available in the Mohalla clinic for free. Another policy that many people might not actually know about is this accident policy that the Delhi government has. If you are in Delhi and you have an accident, and even if you see someone having an accident, and any accident victim gets free treatment in every government and private hospital in Delhi. The treatment cost, however much it may go up to, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, is paid for by the Delhi government. Because one of the things that we found is that even though the Supreme Court implemented this Good Samaritans policy, that you would no longer have an FIR against you if you took an accident victim, we realized that people were not taking victims to the hospital, क्योंकि if you take them to a private hospital, hospital वाला कहता है भाई जमा कराने के पैसे दो, फिर मैं तो इसे जानती भी नहीं हूँ जिसका एक्सीडेंट हुआ है, like why am I going to invest my money in their treatment? So now Delhi government has come up with a policy to pay for all accident victims. Another interesting area of work, and I'll end with this and I'll just leave the rest of the content behind, has actually been water. Because water is one thing that is now proving to be a crisis across all major cities in the country. In Chennai, water is being taken by trains because there's such a water crisis. In Delhi, one of the very innovative solutions to a falling water table, we have found two very innovative solutions. One is that, like in all cities, there's a lot of unauthorized construction, which means that there's no proper water pipelines, no sewage treatment plants, etc. that have been built. So we have actually built small and decentralized sewage treatment plants, and those sewage treatment plants effluent is being used to revive old water bodies. So 200 such water bodies are being revived and lakes being made with the outflow of the cleaned water from the sewage treatment plants. So not only does that clean your sewage, prevent that water from going into the Yamuna, but it also revives the water table, because those are the natural contours that have existed for hundreds of years of water bodies. We even recently started this pilot where Delhi government has bought land on the river banks of the Yamuna. And we basically, if that is some of the most absorbent areas in the riverbed. So we have bought some of that land, और जब इस बारी पहली बारिश हुई, the water that got stored in that, just in about 1 kilometer radius of storing rainwater in the waterbed, the water table in that part of Delhi has already gone up by 1 foot. So now we are making a plan by which Delhi government can buy huge plots of land on both sides of the Yamuna, so that they can become the water storage and water conservation mechanisms.
Ma'am, with winter coming up, Delhi is obviously going to face a lot of pollution crisis like it does every year. And while I completely realize that Delhi government alone cannot do anything because of the stubble burning and everything, what is it that Delhi government is actively planning up to take that challenge on?
So I don't know if you have, CSE, Center for Science and Environment, came up with a report recently which said that in the past 4 years, the average pollution in Delhi, the PM 2.5 levels have come down by 25%. The 3-year average of 2011 to 2014, and if you compare the 3-year average of 2015 to 2018, pollution in Delhi for the remaining 10 months has actually come down because of multiple interventions. Even something like 24/7 electricity that our government provides has meant that no generators are being used. Diesel generators are one of the most commonly used things. There has been a lot of cut down on construction dust because of raids by our ministers, bureaucrats. Now all construction has these dust protectors on either side. The eastern, western, peripheral highways have meant that trucks now actually don't enter Delhi. There's been an expansion in the green cover. So multiple steps have actually led to Delhi is the only city in the country where pollution levels in the past 4 or 5 years has actually come down. In all other major cities in the country, pollution levels have gone up. But see, the fact is that in November and December, the pollution that hits the city is not coming from Delhi. It's coming from outside Delhi. And as a government, there is very little traction that we have in Punjab and Haryana. So what we do in November and December are emergency measures. Like odd even is one such emergency measure. This year we have set up a system of health advisory alerts so that every time the AQI level goes to severe, at least citizens are informed about it. We are also distributing masks to all school children and via them for their parents as well. We are also starting this year. One of the causes of pollution at that time was also Diwali. So we have going to on Choti Diwali have this one kind of community Diwali celebration in the center of the city where we are going to have a mega light and sound show, public kind of crackers, etc. being burnt, with the appeal to the people that yes, we know you want to celebrate because it's a festival, but let's do it in a way that does not pollute the city.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
I appreciate what you are doing, but we also need to think from a teacher's perspective. Don't you think that teachers are being exploited? I mean, the teacher who should leave at 6 o'clock is leaving at 7 o'clock, and she is late to home.
See, the thing is that those teachers are getting paid a salary for working an X number of hours a day. Whoever is the teacher, I mean, if someone cannot work those number of hours, they always have the option of leaving that job. But they have to do the amount of work for which they are getting paid salary out of our taxpayers' money. When a family has to send their child to a private school, it's actually like paying tax twice. Because once you've already paid the tax which should be providing you free school education. But when that tax does not provide you with that education, your private school fees is like a tax you're paying for the second time because of the failure of the government system. So while yes, maybe the teacher who was earlier leaving at 4 o'clock now has to leave at 6 o'clock or 6:30, but that's the job that they signed up for.
So the first question is, we are spending a good amount of budget, which is 26% to the education system, 25-26 as per. So did we have any calculations that how much does it take for a private institute to provide the same quality and government institute to provide the same quality? Because often we always see that when it comes to contracts, government contracts are spending more than what a private person takes. So that's one thing. And second, do we see solution that education system is only by the government and not by the market, as the public systems are very, very limited. So there is no free entry to the person who provides good quality education. So how do you look at that perspective?
Yeah. Maybe we could take a series of 2-3 questions and I could club them together because we might not have the time to take a lot of questions individually, but I'll answer it, don't worry.
Good evening, ma'am. Recently concluded elections, unfortunately the AAP is wiped out. Does this therefore mean that the voters of Delhi are fed up with your good works?
I wanted to ask particularly regarding the SMC that you spoke about, and first of all, congratulations on the 80% turnout in the statistics. Purely in the interest of being constructive, I wanted to know as to, from the side of the system, how do you imagine the remainder of the 20%? Do you imagine them as unwilling parents, or do you look at the informal geography of Delhi, where there could be umpteen daily wage laborers or people in the informal labor economy who are not able to make it, who are bound by circumstances to not end up making it to SMC, in which case, how do you from the side of the system imagine that the integration into education or their participation in the education system will look like?
Yeah, so I'll just answer these 3 questions. So the defeat of Aam Aadmi Party in the Lok Sabha elections, and I am well aware I was one of the candidates contesting the elections. See, I think what one needs to understand is that in a voter's point of view, when we were even going out for these elections, even during the time, even in the Lok Sabha elections, people were extremely positively inclined towards us. If you were to see the rallies of an Arvind Kejriwal, like in my own constituency, people used to mob him. Like when he used to start speaking, people would stand on their chairs and be clapping every 10 seconds. A few times he wasn't even able to complete his speeches because people were so excited. But the fact is that there is an increasingly presidential form of voting that the voters of this country are moving towards. So in people's perception, the election was between Modi and Rahul Gandhi, and they chose Modi over Rahul Gandhi as the prime ministerial candidate. In fact, there was one tweet that was doing the round in social media, and I'm not saying I subscribe to it, but I'm just sharing that as a possible insight. And it's this one gentleman had tweeted about speaking to his cook, who said कि जी आम आदमी पार्टी ने बहुत काम किया और बिजली सस्ती है, पानी सस्ता है, स्कूल तो बहुत ही अच्छे हो गए हैं, लेकिन मोदी जी ने हमें पाकिस्तान से बचाया है, उन्होंने हमारी जान बचाई है. So it was a perception of national issues that really where decisions about that election were taken. And if you were to see election results in a state even like Odisha, which had simultaneous elections of national elections and state elections, people vote differently for different elections. So in one state, even when they are going into the booth at the same time and pressing a button on 2 EVMs, one for national and one for state, they are voting differently for the Prime Minister and for the Chief Minister. And I think what the people of Delhi think about what Aam Aadmi Party has done will be clear only in the February of 2015. And I think it will be interesting, not just for us, I think it's an interesting experiment even for the country as a whole. Because I was doing a talk like this recently in Bombay, and someone mentioned that it would be a real tragedy if Aam Aadmi Party loses this election. So I said, for whom would it be a tragedy? Like for me personally, it would not be a tragedy. If Aam Aadmi Party loses the election, the number of hours I sleep every day will go up. The number of hours I spend with my family would go up. The amount of money that I earn because of a proper job that would give me lots of zeros in my paycheck, that with the amount of salary I earn would go up. So personally, it's not a tragedy for me. The question is, it might be a tragedy for the country. That what is the kind of politics that we want in our country? Do we want politics where caste, religion, money power, muscle power rules? Or do we want politics where education, healthcare, access to electricity, water supply are the central issues on which elections are won and lost or won and fought? So I think that is the question, and that is a question that Delhiites will answer for the rest of the country in February of 2015. And we are quite February of 2020, and I am quite hopeful that there is going to be a very positive response from the people of Delhi. On the last question, there was one more question about SMCs. What do you do about the remaining 20%? In fact, as we speak, there is an exercise going on that for parents who do not reach PTMs and parent-teacher meetings, our school management committee members are actually reaching out to them by going to their homes. And so that is another initiative that we have taken, because often the reason why parents don't come is not because they don't care. Often they don't come because they themselves are living on such margins. We run this remedial teaching program called Mission Bunyad for children who are not at their class level learning outcomes from April to June. And in this Mission Bunyad, we have divided children by levels depending on their learning levels, reading and maths levels. So I went to this one school which is right next to my home, and in the lowest level for grade 6, 7 and 8. And I started speaking, there were 25 girls in that class. And when I started speaking to them about their family backgrounds, 7 of those 25 girls who were in the lowest learning level group, 7 of them came from single parent homes. At least 3-4 of them, once you started talking to them, started talking about violence in their homes, about abuse, about alcoholism, etc. So what we are seeing is also a consequence of the fact that you have some of the most deprived background children who are coming into government schools. And I think that we still have a long way to go to be really able to genuinely provide equal opportunities, because for equal opportunities for a child who is coming from a single parent home, they actually need extra support. Until our system is able to provide extra support to the child who are coming from a marginalized background, I think we can't really say that we are providing equal opportunity.
Ma'am, what has been the response of the government of India, especially the current political party, for the tremendous success which now is attained in the education.
I can.
I say this especially because if you look at the standard of the central schools,
Yeah.
especially in Hyderabad, parents have been removing their children from the central schools because nothing happens there. They don't teach, and they're shifting them to the private schools. So, what is the response and reaction of the government of India and the current political party to the success of our?
You know how much love is lost between the central government and the AAP government. I can share one anecdote with you off the record, which one of the non-profit organizations, they were having a meeting in MHRD of some non-profits. So there was some discussion going on about education experiments. So we have a lot of non-profits who work with us. So someone shared one example of Delhi, someone shared another, a third, a fourth. Finally, the then education secretary said, "Bhai, Delhi ke alawa koi baat to karega." So having said that, at least a lot of the other states, but this is I'm sharing informally in that sense, a lot of other states have shown interest. We have had people coming in from all different parts of the country. We had a lot of education ministers who came in from different states when we organized something called a Happiness Utsav, marking the 1 year of our happiness curriculum. And we have had bureaucrats who have come in, child rights commissions, principals, teachers, non-profits from across the country. And we are ready to help anyone who asks for it.
मैडम, मेरा नाम जनार्दन है,
जी.
मैं रिटायर्ड टीचर। तो आप जो दिल्ली के एजुकेशन सिस्टम के बारे में जो आप बोले हैं, उसमें बहुत से यहाँ पर भी इम्प्लीमेंटेशंस में दिख रहा है। तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि दिल्ली गवर्नमेंट, दिल्ली तो एक बड़ा सिटी है, तो बाहर से फ्लोटिंग पॉपुलेशन रहता, तो फ्लोटिंग पॉपुलेशन आने से स्लम एरियाज में रहने वाले वो फैमिलीज के बच्चों के बारे में क्या एक्शन प्लान है, और जो क्वालिटी के बारे में जो सर्वे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के जो सर्वे हुए हैं 40-50 नियर अबाउट 40-45 तक तो क्वालिटी नहीं हुए, सो बात सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से आया है। तो दिल्ली में ये 3 इयर्स में क्वालिटी लर्निंग आउटकम्स में उसको इम्प्रूवमेंट, जो स्पेशल टीचिंग से कैसा उसको इम्प्रूवमेंट करे, और जो ये क्वालिटी के बारे में आपके एक्शन प्लान में जो बच्चों को जो क्लास का जो सामर्थ्य आना चाहिए, वो सामर्थ्य के बारे में, स्पेशल टीचिंग के बारे में टीचर्स को टीचिंग ट्रेनिंग दिया गया, या उसके बारे में भी हमारे को मालूम हुए तो अच्छा रहता। और जो टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग में आप बोले हैं अदर कंट्रीज में भी भेजा के वो लोगों को अच्छा ट्रेनिंग्स दिए हैं, तो वो अदर स्टेट्स में भी कुछ इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन आप दिल्ली को देखकर कुछ चेंजेस अपने कंट्री में आया या नहीं, इसके बारे में अगर आप बोले तो अच्छा है।
Hats off to you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
For the education system, I have been part of the ITI COE in Hyderabad. The initiative what you have taken needs an implementation down the level, and you have done an excellent work. It shows in the results. So I just want to ask you a question. How did you get the bureaucracy in line, the officers in line? Because that was the frustration which I came out of that system, and I stopped doing that. But I had some of the initiatives what you were handling into this to get the attendance increased, and there was a lot of recognition from the state government. But unfortunately, just because of the bureaucracy and the officers, I had to go back.
I am Abdullah Faiz, I am engineer. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for your efforts and giving hope to all the nation. My question is, recently it was in the news that the Delhi government has introduced Deshbhakt curriculum, nationalism curriculum. So what kind of nationalism you want to instill, indoctrinate among the children? Is it the idea of Rabindranath Tagore and Gandhi, or Maulana Azad, or it is the idea of Golwalkar and Agarwal?
Atish, before you answer, I just want to recognize Mr. Janardhan and a group of these people are part of a very large movement in this part of Hyderabad and Telangana, who have implemented some of what you have already done successfully and brought many challenges.
So I'll just answer this round and then we can take one more round of questions, after which I think it would be time to wind up. So how did you get the officers in line? You know how much love there is between the bureaucracy and the Aam Aadmi Party government. But first thing I have to say, before saying anything else, is that really a lot of thanks is due, and we have said it on all forums, to a lot of the bureaucrats who have worked with us. And we have had some excellent IAS officers who have been in positions as directors of education, secretaries of education. So there is a lot of gratitude that is due there also. But having said that, when someone once asked me, there was a friend's daughter who had completed a public policy degree from an Ivy League university, and she had come to meet me, and she asked me कि भाई ma'am you're an advisor to the education minister, what does your job involve? So she was expecting some fancy public policy related answer, and I asked her कि तुम सच जानना चाहती हो? Yeah. So I was in my office in the Delhi Secretariat, and I said, you see this phone on my table? Yeah. I said, so my job as an advisor involves my phone pick up करती हूँ. If there's some issue of a school in Southwest District, I call up the Deputy Director of the Southwest District and say कि sir वो file आई होगी आपके पास, आपने sign कर दी क्या? So he says हाँ मैंने sign कर दिया. I'm like, sir आपने additional director के office में भेज दी क्या? हाँ भेज दी. Then I pick up the phone and I call up the additional director. Sir वो DD Southwest से आपके पास एक file आई होगी, आप sign करके please special director के office में भेज देना. Then I call up the next guy and I say, sir आपके पास file आई होगी, आप director के office में भेज देना. In fact, even on the way here, during the working hours, I had a talk today morning in Nalsar. So I had a couple of hours free. तो पहले मैंने सोचा था कि मैं वहीं पे नालसार में ना रुक जाती हूँ, and then I'll come only in the evening. But there was no phone signal there, and today is a working day, today is a Monday. And I had to make a zillion phone calls to different officers to track different files. And so I said, no, I'll just come and sit in a cafe coffee day in Hyderabad where there's phone signal, so I can catch up with all the files that I'm supposed to track. And really it took effort at that level, not just by me, but an entire team of people who worked with us, many of them in absolutely pro bono capacity as volunteers from non-profits. And it took an effort of a very large number of people to move this system. And so that effort involved working at the level of the minister's office, some people working at the level of district officers level, SMC members working at the ground level, mentor teachers going into school. So pressure from above and pressure from below. And I think that is what it really, a lot of things that it took to move the system. I think a very important role was played by political leadership. I think Mr. Manish Sisodia has been an outstanding and visionary leader. I don't think the country has seen an education minister like him. The amount of personal time and effort that he has spent as a minister, he would have probably visited hundreds of schools in the last 5 years. He might have visited all our schools in the last 5 years. And be it at 6 o'clock in the morning, he has personally addressed school assemblies of at least 400 schools. School assemblies that happen at 7 a.m. in the morning. So for the minister who would probably leave his residence at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. to address an assembly at 7 a.m. And then after that reach the Delhi Secretariat at 9:30 or 10 a.m. and then carry the rest of the work on. So it has taken, he has really led by example as an education minister. How has the improvement been in learning outcomes, sir? That is, frankly, learning outcomes is the biggest challenge that our schools across the country face, and this is not just in government schools. Even across private schools, if you normalize for children who are coming from upper echelons of society, if you were to normalize that difference, you will see that even for smaller and affordable private schools where children are coming from middle class or lower middle class or poor backgrounds, learning levels are extremely low. And we have been running special programs like Mission Bunyad, like Chunauti, where there has been level-wise grouping. We have exams that run for 3 streams of students separately. We have trained teachers, 6 standard level teachers to be able to teach primary level language skills, etc. But we still have a very long way to go. And we face a peculiar problem in Delhi because schools up till class 5, most of the schools up till class 5 fall under the municipal corporation that does not come under the Delhi government. So when the students come to our schools in class 6, sometimes the learning gap is so vast that even if you spend 2-3 years, we are not able to actually bridge that gap. It's also further accentuated by the no detention policy, that children keep getting promoted year after year, even though they are not coming to school, even though they are not learning anything. So this is one of the biggest challenges that we face as a government, and I believe that all states face it. Whether they mention it or not is a different matter. Because many of the states, every time Pratham releases its report, 1 or 2 states always say कि भाई ये झूठ बोल रहे हैं, इनका data गलत है, etc. We have been doing learning outcome survey every year for the last 4-5 years, and while there is some improvement, there is definitely a very long way to go. Should education be provided by the market or by governments? I think that nowhere are we saying that we should shut down all private schools. I think that there is no way any government can say that when government schools, either we are able to provide high quality education to every child. Till that we cannot shut down any private education. But I think that the reason why government schools are necessary is because if we were to look at the history of the world, no country that we call developed today, be it United States, be it Canada, be it England, France, Germany, or any developed nation, has developed without providing high quality public education and high quality public healthcare free of cost to every citizen. And I think that for India as well, you know, we may bring in investment for this country from anywhere, from within the country, by foreign investment. But if you want to set up a company, the biggest bottleneck that everyone faces in having adequately skilled people to work at every level. Why is that? Because we are only providing high quality education to 5 to 10% of our population. So despite having a large population, which should really be an asset, because of the lack of a high quality public education system, our large population has actually become a liability. And I'm not saying private schools have to be shut down, but it is really the responsibility of the government to provide for those who cannot pay. Because otherwise what happens? Otherwise what happens is that at the age of 3, when a child gets admission into the school, their destiny is decided at that age. If I come from a family where my parents can afford high fees, then I get admission in a good school, I am assured I'll get admission into a good college, and I am assured that I'll get a good job at the end of it. If my parents can't afford to pay a lot of fees, then I'll go to a broken down government school, I'll probably drop out before I finish class 12, and I'll end up as a domestic worker or a taxi driver or a mechanic. There's nothing wrong in being a domestic worker or a taxi driver or a mechanic, but it should be a matter of choice and not a matter of compulsion, which is what it is in this country today. And I think that that is really the change that we want to bring. And one last question on the Deshbhakti curriculum. I think that no one would be under the illusion that Aam Aadmi Party is looking to implement Savarkar's or Golwalkar's sense of Deshbhakti. But I think that one thing that I do feel that I think many of us are often skeptical of the idea of patriotism or nationalism, and we just see that idea as very right wing. It's not. If we do not engage with that patriotism, we have left that sentiment which exists in a large population of our country, we have left it open to being exploited by right-wing chauvinistic nationalism. And which is why you have to engage with that patriotic sentiment. I think there could be no greater nationalist than myself. That if I am spending my life and my time in bringing change in the country, so what else is nationalism? I think that if young people who are coming out of our schools and colleges feel that they have to make a difference in the world around them, that is what is nationalism. Who is going to take responsibility for pollution in Delhi or in Hyderabad or Bombay? It is the young people who feel that, who have to look beyond just their own jobs and their own lives and think of society and the country as a whole. And that is really the kind of citizens that we want in this country.
Ma'am, it's a wonderful lecture. Ma'am, my question is on not on politics, not on Delhi. our education system. Ma'am, the person who is doing BTech and MTech and medical with high grades suddenly changes his mind and comes to civil services examination and other central examination and he clears. And what will happen to those persons who are doing humanities like MA, political science, MA, economics, and just they are going to they are struggling to be passed on that, and they are becoming teachers and professors. What will happen? This will be given special privilege, right?
Okay, next question.
Ma'am, this is regarding the learning levels.
Yeah.
You talked about lower learning levels. One of the questions I wanted to ask is in terms of the language used for pedagogy. My experience in Tamil Nadu has been that many students have come from a Tamil background and they really struggle to learn because their content is provided in English. So has there been any approach on changing the pedagogy so that people understand the concepts at a deeper level beyond what is present in English?
I work for the Labour Department, so my question is very specific to child labour.
Yeah.
How do you tackle the child labour problem? Because again, Right to Education and the Child Labour Act are integrated together since 2016. And the second thing is, in order to create a skill-based labour force for the country, what are the steps that your government has taken from 15 to 18 years age group of children, adolescents?
This is a fan question. I'm absolutely floored with what all of you have achieved. Outstanding. How do you instill this sense of purpose? You said you are a nationalist, and what you have done is exactly what all of us should be doing. At least I stand for myself and feel that one succumbs to just sort of a sense of hopelessness and criticism and just give up and lead your own life. How do people like you and your party disseminate what you are sending your teachers out for and making that huge difference? How can this audience get that sense of purpose and energy? Thank you.
Wonderful. I think that's a wonderful question to close on. What about humanities students? I'm a humanities student. Where is the person who asked that? I'm a humanities student myself. I think that there is... See, the thing is, there's a fundamental problem in this approach of a job, the idea that every individual will have to be provided jobs at the end of an education. There will never be enough jobs, and not just that, everyone in our country wants government jobs. Okay, it's not just that you want jobs, you want a government job with PF and healthcare and CGHS and pension and everything. But there can never be a model where everyone has access to government jobs or jobs per se. I think that things will really have to change. One needs a greater entrepreneurial mindset coming out of our education system. And I think that is really what, be it small scale entrepreneurship, be it larger scale entrepreneurship, that can provide the solution for this unemployment crisis that our country faces, and in fact for the economic crisis that our country faces. And one of the steps that we have taken as a government is to start this entrepreneurship mindset curriculum. But of course, many more steps need to be taken even from the central government, while there has been a lot of discussion around Startup India. But I think many more things need to be done to actually encourage, and entrepreneurship is not just about IT startups. It is about being able to provide that support to a woman who wants to start a tiffin business from her home. And that is really the local level entrepreneurship that also needs support. And I think that it's not a question of being a science graduate or a humanities graduate. And I don't know about Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, but I've lived in Madhya Pradesh for many years. And the number of engineering graduates who are unemployed in Madhya Pradesh, there was a full scam that used to run where private engineering colleges used to pay these companies to so-called hire students for a 9-month or a 12-month period, so that to show that they had high job placement. And then after that 12 months, that student would get fired, because that was the only amount of money that had been paid by that private institution to that company. And so there is a very large number of unemployed youth even coming out of the science and the engineering stream. So we need to rethink this economic model fundamentally. About language for pedagogy, I think across the world research has shown that especially primary education If it's in the mother tongue, there is greater learning that happens. Most of our schools, Delhi government schools, are Hindi medium schools. From class 6 onwards, we have one stream or one section which is English medium that students can take by choice. But I think it's very important for children to learn English as well. That is the language of the market, that is the language of, progress and social mobility. So one of the solutions that we found for it was that we have started for students of class 10, 11 and 12, we have started spoken English classes. That even though they have their education mostly in Hindi, if they get good spoken English classes, that increases their confidence in the spoken language. So that increases their employability, and more than their employability, their confidence. We had once had an interaction of these students who cleared the IIT JEE exam with the CM and the deputy CM. And one child got up and said कि सर देखिए आपने स्कूल तो बहुत अच्छे कर दिए और अब हमारे अच्छे टीचर भी हैं और अच्छे नंबर भी आते हैं, लेकिन हमें इंग्लिश नहीं आती है. तो इसलिए जब हम स्कूल से बाहर जाते हैं और हम किसी से बात करते हैं तो हमें एक बहुत सेंस ऑफ इन्फीरियॉरिटी होता है कि हम इंग्लिश में नहीं बोल पाते. एंड दैट इज़ वेयर दी स्पोकन इंग्लिश क्लासेस स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम. And so these have now been successfully running in our schools for the past 3 years. In fact, this has also caused the failure. English and maths used to be the two subjects in which maximum number of students used to fail in class 10 and class 12. This year, because of these 3 years of spoken English classes, we virtually have almost 0 children failing in English in class 10 and class 12 board exams.
I would like to introduce you to one Mr. Amit Shah on this subject.
Yeah. And on skill education, and I have to concede that is one of the areas where we have probably not had as much intervention. Skill education, a lot of our own focus actually was on this entrepreneurship curriculum rather than on skill-based education, because unfortunately otherwise this division happens कि भाई ये बच्चे कॉलेज के लिए, ये बच्चे वोकेशनल के लिए. And but I do feel that that is an area that requires far more work. On special education, this is one of the major challenges I feel that our schools face. The reason they face this challenge is that हम तो सब abilities वाले बच्चों को नहीं पढ़ा पा रहे हैं successfully on a very large number. But one of the things that we have been trying, because what happens with special needs children is that a class or a school might, for example, a class has 5 children with special needs. One of them is visually disabled, one of them is hearing impaired, one of them has some learning disability. So no school is able to provide 8 different special educators with 8 different specializations. So what we have done is we have created these hubs in every 10 schools, so that in every 10 schools we are able to cover all the learning disabilities that happen. And you have one hub in sort of a cluster of schools where a special needs learning center is also run by some non-profit organizations to make sure that if schools are not able to cater to those needs, then those hubs are. And sir's question, which I assure you is not a plant, even though it seems like it. Today morning, I was interviewed by someone from this YouTube channel called The Urban Fight. And they were asking me this question, ki bhai, in politics you don't make a lot of money, why would someone not be a software engineer or a management consultant and have lots of zeros in their paychecks? And this is very true actually. Sometimes I also wonder, I had one of my classmates from when I used to study at Oxford, who is now a very senior partner in a law firm in London, had come to Delhi recently. So I went to meet him for lunch at the Taj Mansingh Hotel, which is where he was staying. And so when I was sitting at the Taj Mansingh having lunch with him, I was thinking, bhai, this is the life I could have led. We after all used to study in the same college. But I also know the fact that when you speak to him and when you delve deeper, I also sense the fact that at sort of in his mid-30s, he is beginning to think, यार मेरी ज़िंदगी से निकला क्या? मैं इन बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियों के लिए legal agreements draft करता हूँ. What is the purpose of this life? Yes, he has a big house in London and his daughter goes to a very expensive private school and they own very fancy cars. But at least I know the fact that when I wake up every morning, I at least feel satisfied about the fact कि मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी में कुछ किया. I am very hopeful that Aam Aadmi Party will win the election again in February. But even if it doesn't, I think that it is very rarely that people, if I had been working in a non-profit for the past 5 years, again earning probably far more than I do, which is nothing, from my current political work, even if I had been doing that in the past 5 years, maybe I would have been able to affect the life of 5,000 children, of 10,000 children. But in the last 5 years, because I've been in politics, the work that we have done has been able to touch the lives of more than 16 lakh children in the past 5 years. I think that in itself, who gets an opportunity like this? And that is what really drives us, motivates us, and it's not just me, there are some of us whom you might see very often on television, on social media, etc. But there are so many people who work with us behind the scenes. When bureaucrats didn't work with us, we actually have a whole team of people who work as volunteers, who are not getting paid anything, but who are doing the work that maybe bureaucrats would have done, who would have worked with district level officers. We have had non-profits help us by literally, because we could not hire people because of a lot of the compulsions of how our government was run. We've had more than one non-profit who said कि यार तुम्हें ये बंदा चाहिए ना, हमारा तुम ले लो, salary हम देते रहेंगे, तुम बस काम करो. So it is that has really brought us this far, and I think that there are enough people in this country who still want that change, and I think that all the people who are sitting here today also, I think that it is really important. It's not enough for all of us to think कि भाई we all know what is wrong with this country, and I think it is about time that we need to stop just discussing this in our living rooms, in our morning walks, and really come out and do something. There are so many people in this country who are struggling to put food on their tables. They are not going to be the ones who can lead that process of change. The process of change has to be led by people who already have enough in their homes, in their bank accounts to at least sustain their lives. So I think at some point of time we all need to make that choice. Because otherwise at the end of one does not want to be 80-year-old lying in a hospital and thinking कि भाई मेरी ज़िंदगी ऐसी निकल गई और उससे निकला क्या? And I think that is really what sustains all of us. And I would really like to strongly urge all the people who are here also that in the last 5 years, उससे पहले जब हम पॉलिटिक्स में आए थे ना, हम एक होप के साथ आए थे कि हो सकता है चीज़ें बदल सकती हैं. वी डिड नॉट सी एनी अदर वे. आज हमें पता है कि पॉलिटिक्स से चीज़ें बदल सकती हैं. इट्स नॉट जस्ट होप, एंड दैट इज़ वाई इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट yes, politics is murky, yes, politics is dirty, yes, politics involves unfair demands of people's personal lives, families, etc. But the fact is that politics is the only thing that can bring about change on a large scale. And if people like us maintain that distance from politics, then you have left that opportunity to people who only want to increase the bank balance in their accounts. So they are not the ones who are responsible for the mess in the country. We who are sitting in our homes are the ones who are responsible. And so I would really like to strongly urge everyone that when we know that politics can make a difference, we really have to make that choice, step out of our homes and make that change happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anand.